I've only briefly studied about ASEAN, but mainly on Malaysia. Listening to the other panelists, I think what a lot of us are talking about is the importance of upholding and respecting human rights, the right to life, the right to a healthy environment. So my research focuses on the plastic waste that came into Southeast Asia, especially in 2018 and 2019. And that is also related to human rights and the environment because we all know what happened to the plastic waste that was dumped here and burned here, affecting the health of the local communities and also polluting our environment. And this right to a healthy environment and the right to, there's even a right to science. So there is, at the United Nations, the Human Rights Council, they are having a meeting now, the Human Rights Council, their assembly. And last week there was a talk by a special rapporteur on toxics and human rights. So they were talking about the right to science in the context of toxic substances. So ASEAN is one of the fastest growing regions in the world. Although we still have so many issues of the poor and the undocumented migrants. But on the other hand, there's a lot of development, a lot of foreign direct investment, a lot of construction going on. But as ASEAN continues to develop, a lot of industries are coming in and they bring with them toxic substances that we all don't know anything about. For example, the waste trade. China banned the import of solid waste. So they banned the import of plastic waste, paper waste, textiles, metals, scrap, all sorts of scrap. Total, there's 32 types of materials that they banned. And all the supply chains are all coming into Southeast Asia. In Malaysia, we have discovered that there were more and more plastic recycling factories in 2018, 2019. And now we are seeing more and more illegal smuggling of e-waste, electronic waste. We are seeing a lot of illegal facilities that are trying to process what we call non-ferrous metals. So like copper, aluminium. So they burn and they melt all these things and it's creating a lot of air pollution and affecting the local communities. And how is this linked to anti-corruption? Well, based on the Transparency International Corruption Perception Index, ASEAN is doing very, very badly in terms of public sector corruption, the perception of public sector corruption. We see many countries such as Cambodia, Myanmar, Laos, they are ranked 130, 160 out of 180 countries. Then we have the middle ones, Philippines, Vietnam, Thailand, also above 100. And we have Malaysia, Brunei, Singapore below 100. This was in 2020. So Malaysia is actually the top 3 in ASEAN when it comes to the perception of corruption. We are perceived to be the 3rd least corrupt country in ASEAN. But yet, every day we see cases of public civil servants being arrested, policemen, customs officers, immigration officers. And then we see people who are charged in court for corruption being let go. And these are the people who are the gatekeepers of our laws. They are supposed to protect the people. They are supposed to make sure that companies coming in follow the rules. The people who are bringing things into our country are supposed to be strictly regulated. But when there's corruption, when there are integrity issues, then there's no one left. If the gatekeepers who is taking care of the gates can easily be paid off, then no one is watching what's coming in through the gates. So then we have Southeast Asia, who is a hub for illicit financial flows, is a hub for wildlife, wildlife trafficking, drug trafficking, human trafficking. So that's why our organization focuses on enhancing corruption mechanisms, and improving governance. And this brings us to the concept of governance. So in the case of this plastic waste as a case study, we found that the waste managed to come in so easily because number one, there was unclear regulation. Number two, there was lack of enforcement by the agencies. And number three, there very well could be corruption. So corruption and governance is highly linked. So when we talk about governance, we talk about increasing transparency, increasing accountability. So the government should be accountable to the people. The government should protect human rights and the environment. And the government should ensure that businesses respect human rights. So from our side, we push the government a lot to keep becoming better. And if the individuals in the government are not capable of being better, then it highlights how important a democratic system of governance is, how important democracy is in Malaysia. For example, in 2018, when the waste first came into Malaysia, there was one small community that kept complaining. They submitted letter after letter to the local government. They submitted letter to the federal government, but they didn't get any response. So that's a very unresponsive government that doesn't seem to care that its voters are being harmed in a certain way. And then we had a general election in May 2018, and our government changed. And because of this change, we had new people in the government, and these new people were responsive to us, to all the complaints. And it highlights the importance of the power of the vote, that voters should have a voice, and if their voice is not heard, then they should have a choice to change the government, to change the people in power. So just using this case study of my work, doing research into this plastic waste, I just wanted to highlight these broad themes of how important governance and anti-corruption is in protecting our people and protecting our environment. And I'm sure in all the other cases of all the other speakers, if only we had a government that was more responsive to people's needs instead of corporate profits, for example, we would all be in a better place. We would all have a better ASEAN.